but he's being something. When he walks into the room, he is being something extraordinary. He is being love, compassion, wisdom, humor, joy. And he's being one. See, the highest level of beingness. He's being one. You know, when you go to a doctor, lawyer, plumber, dentist, whoever it is, anybody to whom you're going, the clerk at the post office, doesn't matter. When you're going to that person, you look into their eyes and you go, whoa, they get me. They see me. They're in a sense, although you might not articulate it this way, they're like one with me. This is we walk away and say, what a nice person. What a nice guy. Wasn't she sweet? That's our way of articulating, boy, I felt an immediate connection. This person doesn't feel separate from me. There are no barriers, there are no walls. So you get to decide whether you choose to be person or whether you choose to be a person. If you choose to be a person, person A, and give abundantly of all the magic that lies within you, the magic that lies outside of you will be attracted to you and become as much a part of you as you allow it to become. Got it? So the important thing for us to remember when we're searching for right livelihood is to stop looking for something to do and start looking for something to be. And to get in touch with that part that resides deep inside of you that knows who you really are and see what it would take to call that forth in a beingness way. So look inside. What is it that I'm being when I feel totally fulfilled and totally self-expressed? What am I being when that happens? Maybe I'm being a healer. Maybe I'm being sensual. Maybe I'm being creative. Or there's some level or state of beingness that would describe to you in a word or two the essence of what's showing up for you, what part of you that's really showing up big. But before I get into it, as I said a minute ago, before I get into a detailed explanation of that, I want to go to some other thoughts, first of all, that I have noticed block people from experiencing abundance, and that blocked me from experiencing abundance. And now I am going to talk about abundance in terms of dollars and cents. Many people hold the thought that money, per se, is bad. I don't know whether you hold that. And some people hold that thought almost unconsciously. That is to say, if you ask them directly, do you experience that money is bad? Is it your thought that money is bad? They would say, no, it's not. Money is good. Many people would say that. But they act as if it's bad. Do you ever have anybody do you a favor, and when you want to offer them a few pennies just to kind of compensate for some of the hard costs that you know they've put into it, they won't take the money? What do you suppose that's about? They don't want to take your thanks? No, they're happy to take your thanks. They don't want to take your money? No, they don't want to take your money for it, because somehow the exchange of money for the good thing they did for you at some level besmirches the exchange. You see, it drops it to a level that starts to feel icky. You see, there's a guy I once knew named Reverend Ike who used to say, I love money and money loves me. That's a great message. I love money and money loves me. And I don't declare that in my universe, God is everything except money. But rather, I declare, God is everything including money. See? That money is just another form of the energy of life that we call God. So we need to get off of our idea that somehow money is bad. You know, we talk about filthy lucre, you know. And we talk about being filthy rich, and we use those phrases that give away what our inner thought is, or at least the inner thought of society at large is, about this. And I can tell you that society still holds this thought very deeply, because one of the questions I am most frequently asked, how does it feel for you to be going around the country talking about spirituality and making so much money at it? As if somehow I'm doing something wrong, you see? As if somehow that should be a warning to the public. See, big warning. See, look at how much money he's making off of this. And every so often I get a letter from someone who says, if you're really so spiritual, why don't you give away all of your royalties to the poor? See? Why don't you, for that matter, just put the book on the internet and let people have access to it for free? See? And the reason that we don't do that is that if we did that, the publishers would go out of business and the book could never be produced to begin with. See, somebody has to do the first thing called publish the book in some form. Even putting something up on the internet costs money. So because that's true, what we notice is that money is just the lubrication that makes the machinery of life work at this present time on our planet as society is currently constructed. And that's all right. See? So I refuse to go to that place that says if you were really a spiritual person, you'd give your book away, you'd take the royalties that you do get for it and spread it out among the poor, and you wouldn't take any of that for yourself. As it happens, just as a matter of information, Nancy and I and the foundation we've created do contribute a large sum of money each year to many, many worthwhile causes. That's not important, it's just what's true, it's just what's so. But, you know, I love making a lot of money because it allows me to do a lot of things, and I'm very clear what I want to do in the world. I'm very clear the changes that I want to cause to happen. And as I said, in our society, it takes that lubrication to make that occur. So what we have to do is get comfortable, is to get comfortable with money, as we have to also get comfortable, I might add, with our bodies and with each other. We have to learn to get comfortable with the stuff of life so that we can say, bring all that life is to me, and all that I am a part of life, I bring to you. And not be ashamed of any part of it, because God doesn't know from shame. Everything changes when you make a decision to be one of the courageous ones. Someone who chooses to make a life rather than a living. And that's when your whole experience shifts. You create a shift beyond belief when you change your thought about what you're up to here, when you decide, in fact, to make a life rather than a living. And that shift is so enormous that everything is altered in your experience, including your experience of money. And make no mistake about it, this is possible. I'm here to tell you that shift happens. Now we have a question over here.
So, a conflict I have with money, I also appreciate it, enjoy it, and I used to feel like I would have to do things I didn't want to do to get money, which now I see that's not a problem, but a conflict that's still left for me is that I feel like if I'm having a lot of money, if I have a lot of money, I'm participating in a program or system that leaves the majority of the world on the outs. And it would be much more acceptable for me if I knew that everyone in the world had food, everyone in the world had medical care, everyone in the world had housing and clothing, and then money was simply a means to play with more, say, quote-unquote, unnecessary.
I hear every word you're saying, but be careful that you don't use your righteousness about that to deprive yourself of the very empowering instrument that could cause it to happen through you. See, be very careful that you don't use righteousness to disempower yourself from being one of those who can actually cause that to happen. My life is dedicated to creating a world exactly as the one you've just described. But I can tell you that I'm far more effective in doing that now than I was when I was denying the very power that would cause me to be able to create those kinds of changes. Every moment of righteousness and every moment of judgment stops you from expressing the grandest idea, because no one can hear you anyway. When you speak from righteousness or judgment, no one can hear you. Not only then do you push away the power that would cause you to be able to create it, you push away the people that could even bestow on you that power. Because no one gets righteousness, not even those you are trying to help. You know, one of the biggest traps of the human experience is righteousness. And sometimes we feel we have what I want to call a right to be righteous. I mean, we really feel that we have a real firm grasp on right and wrong in this particular situation, whatever that might be. And we might. I mean, given the relative realities of what is right and wrong anyway in any given circumstance, but within the framework of that relative system of thought, we might in fact be dead right about something. It's a very dangerous place to be, though, because righteousness can block effective action more quickly than just about any other kind of attitude or experience. It stops us from being understanding, you see. When I think I'm right about something, I can't begin to understand how you could hold a point of view different from me, or how a condition can be allowed to be to continue. I lose my compassion for the people that created that being what it is that out there that I'm being righteous about. When I lose my compassion, I lose my ability to make any kind of really effective change for the better. Because no one likes to be made wrong. It's especially dangerous, I think, for us to become righteous about all the wrong that's being done in the world. Because being terribly righteous about what's being done wrong in the world is a huge announcement that we don't understand that we've placed it there. You also said something else interesting. You said in the earlier days and times when you contemplated these issues, you would catch yourself doing something you didn't want to do, or thought you had to do things you didn't want to do in order to.
Quote, sell out.
No one does anything they don't want to do. Let's get very clear on this. No one does anything they don't want to do, ever. We just do what we want to do, given the results that we anticipate it will produce. Then we pretend there was no other way and convince ourselves to feel bad about the choices we've made. See, no one does anything they don't want to do. No one. There is never a time in life when you do not have a choice, ever. As a matter of fact, you have created the circumstances of your life, including this place that you call no choice, precisely to give you an experience of the choices that you have. You've actually created this apparent roadblock to cause you to notice that there was no roadblock to begin with. And some of you will notice that, and most people will not. And they will allow themselves to live the rest of their lives imagining that they had no choice. I had no choice is the most frequently used rationale for us doing what we wanted to do in the human experience. Some people feel victimized about money. They don't really understand that there's always a choice in their lives about anything, and especially about money. It seems to some people that they are at the whim and whimsy of, the winds of fortune, to use perhaps a well-chosen phrase, or the winds of misfortune, as the case may be, and they see really no connection between their monetary situation in life and their consciousness, and the level of their consciousness. They don't make a connection with what's happening with them financially and how they're creating it. Yet I'm telling you that we create everything. Money doesn't come to you because of what you do. If you think that money comes to you because of what you do, then of course you'll have all of those doingness alibis. I didn't get my college education, or I was disadvantaged to begin with, or I haven't had the opportunities you've had, because you're going to imagine that money flows to you because of something you're doing rather than something you're being. Beingness is something that everyone has, regardless of their education, their station in life, their ethnic or cultural background, their social status. See, everyone can be loving, Everyone can be extraordinary. Everyone can be generous and giving and compassionate and friendly. Everyone can be all the things that we pay people big money to be, regardless of what they're doing. See, it doesn't really matter. The lawyers that make the most money, the doctors that make the most money, the ministers that make the most money, the paper boys that make the most money are the paper boys that show up with an enormous smile on their face, a huge open heart to everyone whose life they touch. They're the ones who go around and get huge tips from the people that they're delivering papers to, and all the other paper boys are wondering, how do you do that? Oh, see, you've got a better bike, or you have a better family background, or you have a better neighborhood, you got a better route. See? No one in life has a better route. All we have to do is share with each other a level of beingness that others recognize as something they want to be touched by all the time. And if we're willing to do that, it doesn't matter what our doingness in life is. We can be plumbers, paper boys, street cleaners, or corporate presidents. But all the good that comes from life will come to us in life when we are willing to open our heart and share from a deep level of beingness with others of the treasure that resides within us, which is called love. But what it comes down to ultimately is a willingness to just show up in this space as the wonderful you that you are, regardless of your story. You do that, and you'll be happy in life. By the way, you'll be happy in life whether or not you have a lot of money. So we do what we want to do given the circumstances that are in front of us to either avoid or create an outcome, and then we say, I have no choice. But you do have a choice. And every choice you make, every decision you make, every thought you think, every word you utter, is an announcement and a declaration of who you think you are and who you choose to be. Every act is an act of self-definition. And you always have a choice. But remember this, no one ever does anything inappropriate given their model of the world. So not only are you always given a choice, you are always making a choice, and you're always making the choice that you think will best produce or avoid the outcome that will cause you to assist yourself in defining who you really are. That's what you're up to. Now, you may not articulate it in that way, but I assure you that's what the human soul is up to. And when you begin to see it that way, when you begin to frame it in that way, you see life in a whole different way, and you imagine life to be a grand adventure, because suddenly it becomes an extraordinary adventure, an adventure in self-creation.
Neil, I wonder if you could tell us why so many spiritual seekers or so-called light workers seem to be up against it financially. Those of us who left our corporate jobs and are sort of called to do our right livelihood, and yet the testing ground seems to be, can you make it through this financial fire? Why is it so many of us have that going on?
The moment you declare yourself to be anything, everything unlike it will come into the space. And it has to. It's the law of the universe. Why, you ask? Because that's the way the universe works. And here is why. In the absence of that which you are not, that which you are is not. Did you get that? You're shaking your head, my dear. I said, in the absence of that which you are not, that which you are is not. Now let me give you an example. Are you big and tall and fat? No. How do you know that you're not big and tall and fat?
Because compared to other people, I seem to be somewhat medium.
So if big and tall and fat didn't exist, if big and tall and fat didn't exist, how would you know that you were not big and tall and fat? Supposing that everyone looked like you. God, wouldn't that be great? No, actually, you all look great just the way you are. Just a little one-liner that I can't resist. But what is your name?
Karen.
Karen, supposing, just for the sake of this discussion, that everyone looked exactly like you, how would you know how you looked? How would you know how to describe yourself? How would you be able to say, I'm the one with the long, dark, oh, I see everyone has long, dark hair. Okay, well, I'm the one that's relatively slim and I'm kind of short. Well, actually, everyone is short and kind of, how would you be able to even know who you were? You wouldn't, would you? Not in this relative existence.
Not on the outside.
No, not on the outside. And if everyone were identical on the inside, you wouldn't even know the inside of you, because you'd all be the same. No? Therefore, I promise you that if you want to have a direct experience of who you are and of what you are, you will attract to yourself like a magnet everything that you are not. Because in the absence of that which you are not, that which you are is not. Got it? Mm-hmm. Bingo.
Thank you.
Now the secret, once you know this, is to not resist it, because what you resist persists. And what you look at disappears. What you hold and embrace, you make your own. What you make your own no longer resists you. That's why masters never resist the opposite of who they are, but rather see it as the grandest blessing. Bring on the opposite. Bring on that which I am not. For I will not only welcome that which I am not, I will merge and become so much a part of it that it will bless that which I am and cause it to have grand expression. See, all the universe is a field. Some people call it a morphic field. I call it a field of experience, a field of expression, life expressing life itself. It's a contrasting field, a field of contrasting elements, if you please. And it is only within this field of contrasting elements that any particular element can know and define itself as what it really is. That's true in the relative universe. Now, in what I've been told is called in our language the realm of the absolute, such a contrasting field is not necessary, nor is it for that matter even possible, because the realm of the absolute is by definition absolutely what it is. Do you understand? And there is nothing else. And we call that God. In my language and in my utterances and in my form of expression, we call that God. In the beginning, there was all that is. And all that is all there was. And there was nothing else. There was nothing else except all that is. And it was very good. But it's all that was. And there was nothing else. And yet it sought to know itself in its own experience. And so it looked outside of itself for something other than what it was, that it might know itself in its own experience. But it could find nothing outside of itself other than what it was, because there was nothing outside of itself, and there was nothing other than what it was, because it was all there is, and there was nothing else. How then to know itself in its utter magnificence? And so that which we call God ceased to look outside of itself, for there was no place outside of itself to look. It therefore looked within, that it might know itself. Not, incidentally, such a bad idea, should you choose to know yourself. To look within, and not without. For those who fail to go within, go without. And so God looked within. And in the interior of that which is God, did God see all the magnificence for which it searched. And it literally imploded. That is to say, God turned herself inside out for us. And imploded into 1,000 kajillion different parts, going here and there, up and down, left and right, and all of a sudden, here and there, up and down, left and right, were created. Fast and slow, big and small, were suddenly created in that glorious moment, in that first thought that produced God in its cajillion elements, that each one of the elements racing from the center at a thing that was now called speed and created the illusion that we now call time. Each of the elements could look back at all the rest of God and say, oh, my God, how wondrous thou art. And who among us has not done exactly that on a starry night or in a room full of people? Oh my God, how wondrous thou art.